The single most important component of a camera is the 12 inches behind it. Ansel Adams. Okay, obviously gear is important, but I wanted to start with this quote because it is so easy to lose track of what really makes a great wedding video. I'm on countless Facebook pages and there's so much hype, myself included. It is so easy to get caught up in what next camera to buy, the lenses you want, the gliders, but I want you to keep in mind that it is not about the gear totally. Gear does help, but it is about the 12 inches behind the gear, the storytelling, the lighting skill, the composition that makes a truly great wedding film. Okay, I know what you're thinking. That being said, your authentic film can look a lot more beautiful if you have the right gear. First off, you need a good camera. Ideally, one that does well in low light. My main camera is the Canon 5D Mark III. It's a full frame camera that takes great video and does very well in low light conditions that you are often dealt at a wedding. DSLRs and these newer mirrorless cameras like the Sony a6500 or the a7S II take absolutely stunning imagery, but they are also very risky cameras. And you might be asking why. That's because of their focus. Unless you're shooting on a really small aperture, these cameras have a rather shallow depth of field. You know, if your subject is in focus with these cameras, then it looks amazing. It looks fantastic. But if you miss focus on any shot, then it's lost. It's no good. You can't use it. You have to nail focus every time with these cameras, or it does not look very good. I suggest having at least two cameras. Not only will this give you two angles of the ceremony and the speeches and toasts, but you will have a backup camera in case one of them fails you on the wedding day. Batteries and cards. Have twice the number of batteries that you will need and at least twice the number of cards that you think you will need on the wedding day. You know, so many things happen that are out of your control on the wedding day. Like we said, Murphy's Law. These things are in your control, the batteries and the cards. And if you get caught in a big moment and you're out of batteries and cards, then that's all on you. So have more than enough for the day. Lenses. My go-to lens that I use most of the day is the 24 to 105 f4. I probably use this lens for 80% of the day. I love it. It's a very versatile lens. I can do wider establishing shots and following shots at 24 millimeters. Then I can zoom in for detail shots, and I can have middle range shots as well. I also recommend having a longer telephoto lens such as a 70 to 200. I try to stay out of the way as much as possible while still capturing weddings in an authentically beautiful way, and this lens allows me to zoom in without being up in everybody's business all the time. And in areas like the ceremony, as well as speeches and toasts, you can't be up there because there's people in the spotlight. You have to be way back, and this lens will help you zoom right in. This is one of the more expensive lenses, but it is perfectly fine to rent one until you are ready to purchase your own. You will need a good tripod. A good tripod will be tall, it'll be sturdy, and it will have a smooth pan and tilt head. My favorite are Manfrotto tripods, but there are many that work very well. Just make sure that it has a video head, not just a locking photography head. A lot of people jump right into wanting to buy, a slider or a gimbal for their wedding videos, but I encourage you guys to start off with a tripod if you're brand new. Focus on the basics of lighting and composition before you worry about incorporating other gear into your work. I'll just throw this out there. One of my favorite all-time wedding videographers is Fiore Films, and she only uses a tripod and she creates amazing work. I encourage you to check it out. An external microphone. The built-in microphones in our cameras are not very good quality. They're getting better, but they're still really bad. I always throw an external microphone on my camera to capture more clear and more directional reference audio. I most likely will not end up using this audio in my final film, but it is a great backup to have and it captures much better audio than the built-in microphones. A recorder. You will want to capture multiple sources of audio. Do not rely alone on your camera's audio for your wedding film. I use a Zoom H1 with a lav mic to capture audio from the officiant and the groom. I have one on each. I've never felt comfortable miking the bride. I usually just depend on the groom's lav and the sound system that they are using at the ceremony. Usually they speak into a microphone, and I will use a Zoom H4n to capture that feed as well. So I will have audio from the officiant, that lavalier, I will have audio from the lavalier of the groom, and I will have the direct feed from the sound system that the event venue is using, and I will have the audio on my camera as an ultimate backup. So the more sources of audio you can have, the better. I will even tape a lavalier microphone to one of the speakers, kind of right between the main speaker and the tweeter, to capture that audio as well, just as an ultimate backup. The more sources of audio you can have, the better, because like we said, Murphy's Law is alive and well. Sometimes the direct feed is horrible. Maybe sometimes your lav pops out or the batteries die, heaven forbid. You need multiple sources of audio. This will save you. The lav mic that I use is the Senal OLM Omni mic. It's a high quality lav that's kind of in the middle of the price range, but there are many lavalier mics. You can just look at the ratings out there, find one that works for you. But the more you can invest in audio, I encourage you, because a okay video with great audio is very watchable, but a beautiful video with bad audio is not watchable. So keep that in mind. Cables. You should have every common cable out there because you never really know what you'll be dealt at the wedding. Like I said, nothing is catered to you. You should call the ceremony event coordinator beforehand to see what will be available to you. But maybe last minute the DJ ends up using his sound system for the ceremony and you didn't contact them before, so you never know. So you want to have at least an XLR cable, a 1/4 inch cable, RCA cables, and a 3.5 millimeter cable. It is also a good idea to have your XLR splitter to create your own connection if there's no other out available to you. I also recommend having an attenuator. An attenuator is a little electronic device that reduces the power of a signal without distorting its waveform. So, for example, if you're recording a live band, or if the only out available to you is coming from the back of a speaker, then it's likely that the feed coming from these sound systems will be too hot for you to record without one, meaning that even if your levels are at 1 or like 0.5, it's still peaking and you won't be able to record it without an attenuator. This has saved me in a few situations, and you'll actually see that it saves us at Megan and Nate's wedding that we will film later on in this course together. So it's a good idea to have one of these in your bag. Light. Like I said, we are often dealt a lot of low light situations at weddings, and nothing is catered to us. Have a good light that you can set up for the ceremony if you need it, as well as lighting for speeches and toasts, and lighting the dance floor. I use the Lowell Pro light on a 10-foot light stand, and it really does have plenty of throw for the situations that I'm dealt at weddings. There are a lot of lights that you can use out there, but this is a great one. Just have a good light that you can always have on hand in case you need it. A bag. You need a trusty bag. This is my go-to bag with my main camera and lenses in it that I use throughout the day. It's also nice because I rest my glide cam on it, like this photo right here, and it can be used as a monopod, and I can just take it right off the bag and glide when I want to. So that's kind of my setup right there. All right, now that we've discussed the essential gear you need on your wedding, let's go and discuss some specialty gear that can really take your wedding films up a notch.